We've already met the PHP date function, which can be used to get different date and time parts. It's just one of an extensive range of date and time related functions. They all depend on the time set on your web server, and for them to work correctly, the PHP engine needs to know which time zone it's using. And you can also change the time zone. There are two reasons you might want to do so. The first is if you have a situation like this page here. A whole series of ugly messages saying that it's not safe to rely on the system's time zone settings. The time zone needs to be set either in the PHP configuration or by using a special function. And if we look at the time down here at the bottom, it says the local time is now 23:19 on Tuesday. Well, I often do work late, but it's not actually as late as that. What has happened is that PHP has selected the time zone as being UTC, Universal Coordinated Time, which is the same as GMT. Actually, although I come from London, I'm currently in California, so although it's the afternoon on Tuesday, it's certainly not that late at night. So the other reason you might want to change the time zone is if your server is in a different time zone from you. For example, I'm normally based in London, UK, but my web server is in Chicago. So the time's not only wrong, but the UK and the United States switch between daylight saving and standard time on different dates. And PHP is fully aware of daylight saving. So before you can change the time zone, you need to look up the correct value for your part of the world. So let's go back to the PHP documentation. And there's a link at the bottom here for a list of supported time zones. They're all organized according to continents. So if we look at America, you can see that the format is America / and then normally it's the name of a city, but sometimes it's the name of a country and a city. For example, America / Argentina / Buenos _Aires. So it's not the United States of America, it's the Americas. So it covers North, Central and South America. And in fact, if you're in Hawaii, you're not in America as far as PHP is concerned, you're in the Pacific, and your correct time zone would be Pacific / Honolulu. Ideally, you should set the time zone in the PHP configuration file php.ini. The location of this file depends on your setup, and you may not be able to change it if you're on shared hosting. Now, I'm using a local testing server. I'm on Windows, I'm using XAMPP, so I'll show you how to change it on XAMPP. Let me just go to my Finder, and there we are in XAMPP on the C disk, and it's in PHP folder. And if we scroll down, there it is, php.ini, right click and edit. And it opens it in a text editor. So find next, we will find time zone. It's spelt all as one word in PHP. Find next. That's not the one. That's not it either. There it is. What I've done is I've added a semicolon at the beginning of the line to deliberately comment out the time zone that has been set. So let me just remove that, and then we can cancel, save the file, and then go to Restart Apache. It's running again now. I can go back to my browser, reload that page. All of those nasty messages have gone, and it tells me that the local time is now 16:24. It's nearly 4:30 on a Tuesday afternoon. Now, I've just changed it in php.ini, but you may not be able to do that if you're on shared hosting. One way in which you can change it, if your hosting company allows you to change configuration settings using a .user.ini file, then you can create the same configuration setup as I've just done. Let's show you how to do that very quickly. Go into Dreamweaver and a new file. It needs to be a text file. Create that, and it's basically the same. It's date.timezone equals, and then it would be for California, America /Los _Angeles. And then save that file. Normally you would save this in your server root, but I'm going to save it in the chapter 3 03_03 folder, and it is saved as .user.ini. This is a special configuration file that works only on certain servers. You need to check with your hosting company to see if this will work for you, and then just save that. Another way in which you can do it is if your server runs on Apache, you can create a .htaccess file. And the format for that is slightly different. So let's create that. New, it's also a text file. And the command is php_value, then a space, and it's date.timezone. That's the configuration directive. Then another space, and then in quotes it would be America/Los_Angeles. And you would save that as a .htaccess file. Normally you would save this in your site root and upload it to your site root. I'm going to put it in this particular folder, so it's .htaccess. And you'll be able to see these files in the download files. A warning for you if you're on a Mac. On a Mac, files that begin with a dot or a period at the beginning of the file name are hidden. You'll need to use a text editor that allows you to open hidden files. Alternatively, if you're using Dreamweaver, as you can see in the Files panel here, it is listed. Dreamweaver recognizes both .htaccess and .user.ini files. So, what if none of those options work for you, or if you want to change the time zone temporarily? You can set it in your PHP script using a function with an incredibly long name. Let me just go here in my PHP block at the top of the page, and what I'm going to do is change the time zone after I've already created those two variables using date. So the way in which you change the time zone is date_default_timezone, all as one word, _set. Oh yes, we're there. And then finally, you put in the time zone identifier. So let's imagine we're in Hawaii, those wonderful waves. So Pacific Honolulu. And this will temporarily change the time zone in this particular script. So I can now create a couple more variables for day_Hawaii, and then the date function. And we'll also have the time in Hawaii. And then finally, we'll put it in our HTML. Let's just copy that, paste it, and the local and the time in Hawaii is now, and that will be time_hi, and the day will be day_hi. We'll save that. And we'll go back to our browser, refresh it. The local time is now 16:31 in California, and in Hawaii it's 13:31. So there's quite a lot there about setting the time zone, but basically you should normally use a configuration file, php.ini or .user.ini or .htaccess to set the server's default time zone. Once you've done that, you can forget about it. But if you can't, you can always use date_default_timezone_set before using any date or time related function. And you can also use date default time zone set within a page to display the time or date in a different part of the world, as I've done just here.